Welcome everybody to how to work out and get great results at home without a gym. And I'm actually in a gym, a private studio right now, but if you're watching this, chances are you're probably not, and you're at home and you need some help and advice to work out effectively and still get great results. So that's what we're going to look at here today. As you can see, how to work out effectively at home and still get great results. Why have I been asked to do this, or why am I putting myself forward into the ring to do this today? Well, my name's Coach Eyre, and I help professional men and women get in great shape, lose up to a stone, and change their bodies in 6 weeks or less online. I've been doing that for a good couple of years now. So I'm used to helping people find a way to get the best results they can at home with whatever equipment they do or don't have. So hopefully today you're going to find some great tips and some advice on how to work out effectively and still get those great results, even if you don't have access to any specific equipment or guidance or outside help. So if you're ready, we're going to start. Okay, so today we're going to cover 4 main areas, okay? We're going to go over a few of them fairly quickly because all of these topics, as you can probably see on the screen there, mindset, exercise planning and execution, progression of that exercise and nutrition, these are all things that I could certainly talk about for a long time, and there's a lot to talk about, and we could probably discuss them individually in much bigger sessions, but we're going to go through them as well as we can and look to get as much of it out as we can as possible as well. But I think the first thing that's really important to cover for a lot of people at the moment, especially in the current situation, the current climate, is mindset. Okay, I think it's crucial not only in terms of exercise and in terms of getting anything done, but I think right now mindset is one of the biggest barriers for people in terms of actually staying okay, progressing, moving forward. So I think it's something that really needs to be addressed. So I'm going to look at that now. So mindset first. As you can see there on the screen, it says, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. A very, very accurate quote by Benjamin Franklin. And I think when it comes to actually understanding and working out what it is you're looking to do, whether it's to do with exercise, nutrition, health, building a house, career, it doesn't matter. You need to have a plan. It's really, really important that you understand what it is you're actually trying to achieve so that you can reach for that. If you have a loose plan, I just want to kind of stay fit, I just kind of want to lose a bit of weight, I just kind of want to do this, that's the kind of results you're going to get. You're going to get loose results, okay? So it's really important to have first things in mind that we have a plan of what it is we're trying to achieve, and more importantly, why? Why do we want to get these results? So just bear that in mind for a second. When it comes to exercise, I'm sure everyone knows the benefits associated with exercise, and that's not really a surprise, but if that's the case, if everyone knows how it's good for you and it gets you great physical results and it makes you feel better and all those things, why do so many people struggle to do it? You know, I see so many people that if you put a football in front of them, if they're a guy and they love football, they'll run around all day, but put them in a gym, they'll struggle to go on their own and do a workout. And it's the same with everyone, is that if you aren't self-motivated enough, it's very hard sometimes to get started and get going. But look, the benefits are massive, okay? And especially now with what's going on outside in this current situation, I think they're even more important than ever. I truly believe that if you're exercising regularly and in a progressive way, it gives you headspace, it keeps you positive. It enables you to focus on the task at hand rather than being anxious about things that could happen or might not happen or what's going on in the outside world, things that you can't control effectively. But what you can control is what you're doing in that moment in the workout. So for example, if you are training to lose weight, you can very much focus on the fact that you're getting towards your goal each session and so on. So you need to have something in mind to work towards. excuse me. Obviously, the benefits in terms of being fitter, healthier, stronger, and leaner, you know, there's some obvious benefits to that. You can do more, you can feel good, you can be more capable, you will start to aesthetically look better as well. And that's going to make you feel better. So the benefits of exercise are huge. We know that, okay? But we need to actually do it. It's not enough to know it, it's enough that we need to do it, get started and continue to doing it. That's how results are really got. So first things first, as I said before, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. We need to set a tangible goal. And what we mean by that is it's no good saying, I want to lose weight. Anyone can lose weight. In fact, today, if you measure your weight at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, the middle of the day, at various points, you would have gone up and down in weight. So you can achieve that in a day. Well done you. It's not going to do you any favors. We need to set a tangible goal for what it is we want to achieve. If it's weight loss, how much and by when? That's a tangible goal. I want to lose 8 stone in 6 weeks. That's tangible. Once we know what that is, we can work out what the mechanisms are involved to get to that point, and we can work it backwards. We can reverse engineer our goal to the start point. Once we've got a tangible goal in place and we know what it is we're trying to do, then we need to set a routine and a plan to actually achieve it. One of the biggest questions I get a lot, and especially at the moment, is how can I stay motivated? How do I get motivation? Will motivation keep going? The answer is you can't stay motivated, because motivation is something that comes and goes, okay? And what you need to do instead of having and relying on motivation is you need to have a routine and a plan in place. Consider this. When was the last time you were really motivated to brush your teeth? Maybe when you've had some really, really like strong food, or you've got a date or something like that, and you really want to do it because you really want to get it done and it's really motivating you. Otherwise, 99% of the time, you brush your teeth because it's a routine and a habit. And that's what we want to do. We want to get exercise to be a routine and a habit so that we don't have to rely on motivation to be the driver to always get it done. So by setting a routine up, and it could just simply be to say we do exercise, my best suggestion is do it in the morning. If you do it first thing in the morning, your chances of getting it done are much, much higher, and the rest of your day is then set up because you're going forward in a positive headspace. You've done some exercise, you've expelled some excess energy, you feel more positive, you're clearer, you've got clarity of mind, and everything else will be easier. So stick it in the routine. Then you've got to come up with a plan of how you're going to achieve it. And the plan could simply be 2 sessions a week, 3 sessions a week, whatever it is, a mix of doing this and doing this. The plan is something you can work out as you go. Once you've got those things in place, and this should only take you like 20, 30 minutes maximum to write down what your goal is, what your routine is going to be, and then a rough idea of a plan when you're going to actually put that routine into place, what you're going to do. Then the most important thing, of course, is to actually get started. Stop talking about it. Don't tell everyone you're going to do it. Just do it. Get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, take imperfect action. Do something. Do anything. Once you're doing something, you can always amend it and you can always make it better, but you must get started. Then I'll put on there tracking and journals. It's vital to be tracking what's going on. And we're going to come to that a little bit later in a bit more detail, but for this point of view, I'm talking about the mental aspect, the mindset point of view. I think it's crucial right now, especially with what's going on, to be very mindful and aware of what's going on in our headspace, okay? I think if we can help ourselves by journaling what's going on, how we're feeling, what we're thinking about, when we're stressed, when we're feeling positive, it gives us an ability to look back and forward and see where we were most positive and try and replicate that, where we were most negative and try and get rid of it, okay? So it's going to take time to build up a level of progression and seeing what's happened and sort of going back and making that better, but you can only do that if you start. So if you start tracking those things, you'll get a better understanding. I think it also helps to see results. So if you can see that you've tracked, for example, how you've been feeling when you started exercising on Monday, and all of a sudden the second week in, you can see that you start to be more positive after the sessions, then you start to see that you're getting results. And results help motivation. Motivation keeps you going until it's a habit and a routine. So those are the things that are really going to help with your mindset. It's not easy. You have to work on it. You have to consider it something that has to be done every day, but it will get easier over time. And the longer you do it, as I say, it changes from motivation and want to habit, routine, and need. And that's what we want to aim for. So in terms of making a plan, I want you to consider that, imagine you're where you are right now, and your idea is you want to lose weight, or you want to gain muscle, you want to gain strength, whatever it be, okay? You need to consider the facts of where you are right now, okay? What is it you look like? What is it you do? What is it you eat? What is it you don't do? All of the things that are in your habits, routines, and rituals right now, okay, that make up you as you are today. Then you need to consider, when you're really dealing with the facts of that situation, you need to be honest as well, okay? You know, if you eat 5 donuts a day at the moment, that's okay, but own it, write it down, be honest about it, okay? If you don't do any exercise, write it down, be honest. You've got no one else to kid but yourselves. So you need to have a start point. If you consider that if you're in a car, for example, and you want to get to Winchester, but the car doesn't know where you are on the sat nav, you don't know where you are, you've got a map, you have no idea where you are, you've got no chance of getting to Winchester. So you need to know where you are before you can put down point B of where it is you want to get to. Once you understand where you are, then point B becomes a simple case of saying, right, I want to get to point B. What does point B look like? What do they do? So I'll give you an example. If it were me, and let's say my goal was to look and perform like Arnold Schwarzenegger and be a bodybuilder on stage, okay? And look like he did in the 80s and 90s. It's not my goal. But if it was, for example, I would then have to look at what he does versus what I do, and the stages it would take to get there. So, you know, he's going to be eating 6,000 plus calories a day. He's going to be training 3 or 4 times a day, 7 days a week. He's going to be taking multiple ice baths to recover from those. He's going to be taking some steroids. He's going to be taking all these different steps to get to where he did. And I have to decide, is that what I want to do? For me, no. But if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, you now know what point B looks like, and you can work your way back to there. So if we say it's losing a stone in 6 weeks, great. What are the habits that you need to adapt to get that stone weight loss in 6 weeks? Well, if you're not working out, you're going to need to work out. If you're eating badly, you're going to need to change that. If you're not recovering, you need to do that. If you need to get more sleep, and so on and so forth. So in other words, what needs to happen to get to that point? That is the best and quickest way to come up with a plan of what it is you want to do. And then you can start to inject a routine and a plan into there to get to the results you want. So moving forward, guys, I want to talk about exercise planning and resistance, okay? At the moment, you're all aware of this. You can go and get free exercise sessions online pretty much from everywhere at the moment, okay? Everywhere's got these. So you can go on YouTube, you can go on, turn on the TV, you know, you've got people showing you exercises all day, every day for free, and they're brilliant. And if you're doing nothing, do them. They're fantastic. What I want you guys to do is to take away from this session the idea of how to progressively exercise for you and your body. So the first thing I want to talk about is resistance, okay? It's crucial to development. And this is what we're talking about. Resistance exercise is basically any exercise where your muscle is contracting against an external force, okay? So when we're talking about resistance, if we're talking about cardio exercise, for example, when you're going for a run, yes, there is an element of resistance in your legs, but you're not training your muscles in your legs per se. You're actually working your cardiovascular system. You're improving your heart's ability to recover, to function, to pump blood quicker, okay? But with resistance exercise, you're very much training your muscles and also training the skeletal system as well. So what's the benefits? You can see on the screen here, huge, huge benefits. From a health perspective, you can lower your resting blood pressure, which is great for your health overall. You can increase your bone density, okay? You make your bones denser and stronger by using resistance exercise. So if you've ever seen people on social media when they've shown you sort of pictures of people who are in their 80s and 90s, still going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, doing amazing things, that's because they've trained with resistance exercise and they've actually allowed their body to grow and develop in that way, versus their peers at the same age who are struggling to get in and out of a chair or walk to the stairs and back, okay? So it's a choice. What would you rather have? In terms of strengthening your heart, again, like cardio, it works in the same way. It works your cardiovascular system, but it can actually work it in a much more efficient way. Everyone thinks that you can only sort of go for a run or go and do cardio work to get that pump, but that's not the case. By using resistance work, you can very much equal and even better that in some circumstances. It improves your cholesterol, which is always going to be a good thing. And it also speeds up your resting metabolic rate. So what's the benefit of that? It means that post-workout or pre-workout, you can increase the amount of calories that you're burning when you're at rest. And that's got to be a bonus for everyone. The other thing that we really want to include in our weekly exercise planning is cardio, okay? Because it helps with fitness, it helps with the heart, it helps with overall health, and it helps with your mind. I think obviously the biggest and most obvious benefit to cardio is it improves your heart health, which in turn improves the health of your whole functioning systems in your body. It increases metabolism. Great. We're going to burn more calories, we're going to get fitter, we're going to need more fuel to back that up eventually, but that's a good thing and it's going to help us on our way. It also releases feel-good hormones, as does any kind of exercise, but specifically with cardio, you'll know that feeling of slight euphoria at the end of your session, especially if it's been a tough one. It's going to make you feel great. It's going to decrease your recovery time as well. So if you're doing resistance exercise on a Monday, for example, and you inject some light cardio on a Tuesday, you're going to be able to do more in your next resistance session on, say, the Wednesday or Thursday, because you've recovered quicker. Yeah, so it's a really good recovery tool as well. Not necessarily high intensity, but lower intensity for a longer period. It's going to help you to get back onto where you need to be. It also controls your blood sugars. So if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, cardio is brilliant for you. If you're not, it's also great because it's going to stop you getting to those stages as well. It's going to make your body more efficient at shutting glycogen throughout its stores. And most importantly, right now, it's headspace. It gets you away from everything else. So when you're doing a workout at home, for example, and let's say you're doing something quite challenging for you, let's say you're doing press-ups and squats and burpees or something like that, for argument's sake, you've got to focus on getting through it and the form, and you've got to focus on changing to the next exercise and watching out for the cat behind you, and trying to juggle a million things whilst also focusing on the exercise. And whilst that's great and it gives you a bit of headspace, if you go out for a walk or a jog or a run or a row, whatever, just get out and do something, you are just focused on the repetitiveness of the motion. So if it's running, you're just repeating. You go onto autopilot, you're not thinking about what you're doing, and you create headspace, which gives you clarity, gives you peace, and allows you to come back into the house and not feel so isolated and trapped all the time, okay? But if you can't get out and do it, if you can't get fresh air, if you are shut in and you have to stay shut in at the moment, if you're self-isolated for health reasons, you've got a low immune system or whatever, then do what you can do. Do the best you can do, okay? It's about keeping that cardio up at home, and there's various ways that we can achieve that. The third piece of the puzzle in terms of exercise planning is mobility and flexibility. And as you can see from the lady on the picture there, it's pretty flexible and mobile as well. And it's a good thing because it aids your recovery, your ability to produce power, and your capability. Just quickly, guys, before I carry on, I'm just going to say there is a question and answer period at the end. So any questions you've got in the chat box, I'm not ignoring them. We're going to go through them at the end, and we're going to make sure everything gets answered to the best as we can. So why are we focusing on flexibility and mobility in our plan? Okay, so we've got resistance work, we've got cardio, but why are we adding in flexibility and mobility? Okay, massively improves joint health. So mobility is your ability to move your joints through a full range of motion, okay? Comfortably, without pain, and free from restriction. So if we work on mobility before the workout, after the workouts, in between, we're going to improve our joint health. That means we're going to be fitter for longer. It means we're going to be able to do more for longer in our life and come back stronger each time. We can alleviate pain. The more flexible we are, we can take pain away from the actual time we're doing the workout and in between. The amount of people that I speak to that have lower back pain, and actually when you get them stretching after a period of time, they realize the lower back pain wasn't caused by their back, but it was caused by tight hamstrings or tight glute muscles. That flexibility or lack thereof can cause pain, so we can help get rid of that as well. We can increase your range of motion. If you're restricted in your range of motion at the moment, certain movements will be painful, certain positions to stay in will be painful. By doing this, we can change our posture and make things a lot more comfortable. We can decrease recovery time. By working on flexibility and mobility before and after sessions, and we're not talking about a long time here, guys, we're talking about like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning, 5 to 10 minutes at the end, okay? It can massively, massively reduce your injury risk and get you recovering quicker for your next session. And of course, if we can do all these things, if we can improve our joint health and make us last longer, we can alleviate pain, increase our range of motion, our ability to do more things, and get the injury risk down, it's going to have a massive impact on our quality of life. So it's vital that we put these things into our weekly sessions. Lastly, in terms of things that I think you have to have in terms of a successful plan for working out, you've got to have some way of tracking it all, okay? As I said before, if you're not tracking things, okay, you're dealing with thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but by tracking things, you're dealing with facts. You can't lie about it. It is what it is. You've said what's happened, it's happened, and there it is in black and white. So on the screen now, I've got a picture of the app that I use there to track with my clients. And basically, you can see there, for example, someone did a dumbbell rear lunge, they did 10 sets of 20 pounds. They didn't, but hey, it's just an example. The point is we want to track what we're doing. And depending on what your goal is, we don't just want to track the exercise we've done, but we might want to track other progress as well. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've got a goal of losing 5 stone in 2 months because you've got an upcoming wedding or something like that. Okay, great. So we want to be tracking the exercise we're doing for sure. We want to be tracking the kind of foods we're eating to make sure we're eating the right things. But we also want to be tracking what we are looking like. We want to be tracking maybe by taking photos. We want to be taking measurements of key body parts that are going to indicate fat loss. So, for example, our neck, our hips, our waist, our upper legs, our upper biceps, areas that fat tends to accumulate quite quickly, and we can see that fat loss coming off, as well as taking our weight on the scales. Those things all together are going to give us a much bigger picture and a better picture of what's really going on. But it creates clarity if we're tracking, okay? As I say, we're no longer dealing with feeling or emotions. The amount of times that we can be doing something for 2-3 weeks and think, I'm not progressing. I don't feel like I'm progressing. I can't see any progression in the mirror. But if we look at the evidence, if we look at how much more weight we've lifted, or how many more reps we've done, or how quick we've recovered, or the scales, the pictures, the measurements, and we put it all together, I guarantee you will see progression. And if you don't see progression, there's a reason why. And now we can look at that and work out what the reason is. So it's really vital that you track this to get out of feeling and emotion and get into the facts of what's going on so we can move forward. That in turn is going to give you accelerated results, because you're now going to start to see that progression in black and white. You're not going to think about, well, is it happening or not? It's going to be there for all to see. So that's going to increase your motivation, which is going to increase your ability to keep doing it, because you're going to want to keep seeing those results and you're going to keep moving forward. So tracking is vital, and there's all kinds of ways you can do it. As I say, I use an app for my clients and my challenges online. I find that's the best way of doing it because I get to see what people are doing, they get to see what they're doing, and it's got motivational tools in there. So when everyone gets a workout, gives you a virtual high five and says, well done, today you've done 5 personal bests. That's great. It's instant feedback. It's good motivation. It keeps you going. But you don't have to use that. You could use a notepad. You could use an Excel spreadsheet. You could go as deep as this as you like. I've got a client who uses my app, but also creates their own amazing spreadsheets, and they're fantastic. I don't have the time or the want, but they do, and that's great. So there is no one-size-fits-all approach. It's whatever works best for you. But track everything, and then you can't go wrong. To tie that all together, and I think this comes back into mindset then, guys. When you're talking about an exercise plan, you know what you're going to be doing because you've planned your workouts, you've got resistance in there, you've got cardio in there. You know you're going to be tracking everything, and that's really, really good. But now, what happens when you hit a brick wall? What happens when you do feel unmotivated? What happens when you're surrounded by people that you're living with in this situation at the moment who maybe aren't quite as het up on you achieving your goal as you are? You need to get support, okay? I learned a long time ago when I was putting together online programs for people individually that if I took 10 people and gave them a one-to-one training online, probably find 5 of those people, less than maybe 3 of those people would be really self-motivated enough to get fantastic results on their own. The rest of the 7 would benefit much more if I put them into a group setting. So that's what I started to do. I started to put people together in a group that had a like-minded goal and get them onto a challenge over a period of time that they could achieve that goal together. And this is what I found. The people, when they're surrounded by like-minded people with a common goal, they lift each other up, okay? They hold each other accountable as well, because it's like, you know what it's like if you're gonna make a commitment to someone and you say, I'm gonna go to the gym with you. We can't do that at the moment. But if you've got a group of people that you can see online or you can speak to on the phone or whatever, or in a chat room, it doesn't matter. But you're all in the same boat. You're all going through the same challenges, the same issues, okay? And celebrating the same wins. It allows you to really lift each other up. When things are down, you're going to get support. When you're up, you can support others who are down. And it massively, massively helps. It accelerates the results of everyone. There's that element of friendly competition as well. But most importantly, and I think this is the biggest thing, you are surrounding yourself with people who actually get it. They get the struggle. They get what you're trying to achieve. They understand the why behind it because they've got similar reasons for doing it. And with the best will in the world, our friends, family, the people we love and want to spend time with, they don't always have the same goals as us. And if they're not aligned to what it is we're trying to do, even without thinking about it, they will attempt to sabotage you. In one way, sounds bad, right? But it's not they're necessarily doing this on purpose. It's not they're out to get you. It's just that they're uncomfortable with your change as it reflects their lack of change. They don't want you to be a different person because then they might have to be a different person or they may have to do something they don't want to do. So it's uncomfortable. So they will put things, they'll throw up obstacles, they'll put things in the way to stop you if they can. But if you surround yourself and align yourself with people who are looking for the same things, even if you're physically surrounded by people who aren't, you can get much more support, quicker results, and really push on. So get a support network of some kind, even if it's just one other person you know who wants to do something at the same time. Hold each other accountable, get those accelerated results, increase your motivation, and achieve your goals. All right, guys, the nitty-gritty. So we've got our plan, we've got an idea of what we're going to do in terms of a plan, okay? This is what we need to include in it. So to recap, we need to include resistance-based exercises. We need to include cardio each week. We need to include flexibility and mobility, ideally at every session. And we need to track the progress and try and get some kind of accountability partner or partners. That's going to accelerate our results. But what are the best exercises to do? What should we actually do in those sessions? Okay, well, let's have a look. So Without a shadow of a doubt, if I had to say what are the best type of exercises you could do, unless you're coming back from injury or you've got a specific area of your body that is lacking, it's compound movements. It's movements that require multiple muscles at once to work, okay? So if we take the example here of the lady on the picture, she's doing a alternating or forward lunge, okay? So she's using her glutes, she's using her hamstrings, her quadriceps, she's also using her calves and her core to stabilize. So lots and lots of different muscle groups, as well as minor muscle groups at the same time, to achieve those lunge positions, to go down and up, other side down and up. If we're talking about an isolation exercise, a good example would be a bicep curl. So if I'm holding this here and I bring it up to my shoulder and down and up and down, I'm now isolating the bicep to get that movement to work. It's time, it's a waste of time, it's a time thief, okay? Unless you've got an injury. If you've got an injury and you need to train a specific muscle group or a joint specific around a joint, then isolation work is a waste of your time overall. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ever do it, and it doesn't mean there isn't a time for it. There is. Let's say, for example, that you've got underdeveloped calf muscles or underdeveloped shoulders, and it's causing an imbalance, and you're getting a point where you can't push, pull, jump, or do any more past a certain point. You might need to work on individual areas. But for the most part, for 90% of the time, compound movements are going to get you to your results quicker, faster, and more efficiently than any other type of exercises. Okay, they're going to improve your strength, they're going to increase your lean muscle, they're going to give you much better coordination, as you've got to use different muscle groups together, and ultimately they're going to make you look and feel the part much quicker. So what exercises to pick? Go with compound exercises first and foremost. Now, I want to talk about the 8 movement patterns. These are the basic or primary function movement patterns that you must be doing. And the reason you must be doing them is because your body is designed to do them. Okay? Number 1, gait. So that's basically walking, running in a straight line, forwards and backwards. Okay? So a gait is how we move in a linear fashion. Easy to work this one. You just walk, you just jog, you just run, no problem. How can we improve it? Through flexibility, mobility, time, frequency, increasing the pace, slowing it down, those kinds of things. We can work on that every day by getting up and about and moving. The second type of exercise is a hip hinge. So anything that basically comes from the hip as the driving force behind it. So for example, you can see it here. Anything, for example, if we were using like a kettlebell, just grab one. And we were going to do a kettlebell swing. The hip has to come back. And as you come up, the hip drives forward. So that is a hip hinge movement. Okay? That can be done on the floor, that can be done standing up. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, we're using the hip to hinge forward. The next position is a knee dominant one. So examples of knee dominant could be something like lunges, like the woman was doing there. It could be squats, any variety of those. Something where your legs behind you when you're squatting and lunging, doesn't matter. Anything where the knee is dominant. Then we have horizontal push. In that position. So the obvious one that comes to mind is press-ups. Variations, so many variations of press-ups. You could do elevated press-ups, wide, narrow, you can do one arm in, one arm out, all kinds of different variations. Anyone who says they're bored of press-ups, they've done too many, they can do them, trust me, there's a variation that will give you a challenge. Horizontal pull, again, same position, pulling back. So anything where you're rowing towards the back effectively, okay? So an example of that, if we're laying down, could be an inverted row to pull ourselves up. It could be that we are bending over at the waist and using a weight. So bent over row, pulling back, anything we'll be doing this with, okay? Then we've got a vertical push, simply push. And vertical pull, pull. So examples of that again, anything where we're pressing with our shoulder is a vertical push. Pulling down, obviously if we're doing a pull-up or a pull-down, for example. We can do this at home as well with certain equipment we can use at home safely if we have no actual gym equipment. And we'll go through that in a minute. And then the last one is the rotational and core work. So anything where you're moving in a rotation pattern, and it could be done in combination with something. So, for example, you could go into a lunge and then rotate. Okay, or it could simply be like a wood chopping movement, and that rotation of the trunk works the core at the same time. They are the basic primary movement patterns that your body is designed to do and needs to do to progress. So we must include those in our sessions. So guys, question I get a lot. What's the best equipment to use? In that picture there, you've got an example of certain pieces of equipment. Certainly in the studio here, you can probably see just above me, I've got like Olympic rings from hanging off and things like that, and things for kicking over there, and exercise bike there, and so on and so forth. The truth of the matter is this, and you might not like it. What's the best equipment to use? Well, you already have everything you need, okay? Your body. Anything else is just a bonus, okay? As I've put at the bottom there, have you ever seen an out of shape, weak, unfit gymnast? And the answer is no, not if they're a practicing gymnast. The reason is they work with their body weight, okay? And they build up something called relative strength. Now, we're not talking about strongman competition that you see at Christmas, sometimes people lifting trucks and everything like that. Those guys just go for pure strength. It doesn't matter what size, shape, or anything they're in. Gymnasts work on relative strength. In other words, strength relative to their size and weight. And they are some of the strongest people you will ever see in that capacity. What do they look like? They look ripped, they are extremely fit, they're extremely strong, and that's brilliant. If you work with body weight movement, are you going to look like a gymnast? Simple answer is no, unless you eat like a gymnast and you train multiple times a day, every day, each week, like a gymnast in gymnastic movements. But can you achieve a fantastically toned, progressive body with bodyweight movements? 100%, 100%. Some of the biggest challenges you can do with bodyweight movements. And at the moment, being based at home, some people have access to equipment, some people have none. Body weight and progressing through bodyweight movements can get you fantastic results if you stick with it and work within certain guidelines. I would say this though, if you're going to get any equipment, or there's any equipment that you're thinking, okay, if I wanted to get one thing, these are my top 3 most versatile pieces of equipment that you can use, okay? Adjustable dumbbells, like the ones in the picture. They don't have to be these sort of ones where you twist the dial at the end. They're fine. But even the ones here where you screw the ends off and you put a different weight plate on. Adjustable dumbbells, if you get a good set, 30 to 50 pounds maybe, they can allow you to progress very quickly over the coming months, and you can get massive results. Bear in mind this, guys, everything I'm going to suggest here, dumbbells, resistance bands, kettlebells, all great pieces of equipment and very, very versatile. You'll notice one thing with all of them, and in fact, everything you use in the gym and outside of the gym. All of those pieces of equipment are just extensions of that pattern that I've shown you already, those 8 movement patterns. So think about it. You've got dumbbells, you push them over your head. Yep, that's a vertical push. You bend over and pull them up. That's a vertical pull. Yeah, a horizontal pull, sorry. If you go on a bench and you bench press with them, horizontal push. If you use a kettlebell and swing, it's a hip hinge. If you use dumbbells on the floor and pull up in a deadlift position, that's a hip hinge. So all of these things that you use in and out of the gym, all these amazing pieces of equipment, all they can do is replicate your primary movements anyway, okay? So once you understand that, you realize you don't actually need any other equipment. But one thing I will say is this, and it's really important, guys. Do not make your own equipment at home. Please, please do not make your own equipment at home. Don't get me wrong, no. Something like this where it's a container and it's used to holding something in it and it's quite stable and strong, you know, I could fill this with water and sand, it'll give me a certain weight and I can use it as, you know, like a makeshift dumbbell. It's fine, it's absolutely fine. But when people start doing things like, I go to the gym and do a leg press, so I'm going to start leg pressing the sofa. Okay, cool. Number one, the position you're in under the sofa is putting your back at risk. Number two, the sofa is not moving in the same way as the leg press does, because the leg press moves in a fixed position. The sofa is on a pivot point and it's moving up and down in an arc, like a circle here, yeah, rather than in a straight line. So that's different as well. You're stressing different muscles. You're putting pressure on your body. People, I'm going to tell you the worst, as it says at the bottom there, don't be the guy who made a kettlebell from his kettle. I read a story a couple of years ago. The guy was at home, had no equipment. Hey guys, look what I've done. So filmed a quick video, literally had a kettle, filled it up with stones or whatever it was, or you know, some kind of weight that he put in there. And he gaffer taped it all up together. Fantastic. So he started swinging with it, he started putting it over his shoulder. Brilliant, really good time, about 1 minute, 10 seconds in. When he swung it aggressively, the handle ripped off and the kettle goes through the window, he goes flying backwards and smashes his neck to pieces. So look guys, at the end of the day, I don't advocate anyone making their own equipment. Don't get me wrong, you can use pieces of equipment to your benefit. So for example, like if you have a broom handle, for example, I'll show you, I've got a stick here. So using something like this is a stick for opening windows. You can use that as a tool for stretching, for example. That's a pretty good tool. You can use that as a warm-up tool. That's great. That's not going to cause any harm because I'm not putting any undue weight or pressure on it that it shouldn't already handle. But when you talk about making something from scratch, you know, you start putting things together with tape, or you start using things that aren't meant to be swung around, or things that aren't meant to be lifted up in certain ways, you're going to ask for trouble. The classic example is, if you look at the kettlebell here, if I hold this and go into a squat position, a goblet squat, up and down, okay, that's great. It's perfect for doing it because it's evenly weighted. Whereas, if I had something that was odd shaped but heavy, and I think, oh, I can use that, but it was heavy this side, not so heavy this side, now my body's moving to accommodate that. Okay, and if I'm not used to it, I'm going to start really, really suffering in the hips, I'm going to start suffering in the knee, I'm going to start suffering in the ankle. So bear in mind, guys, you can look online, you'll see loads and loads of people online who show you how to make great things. Some of them may be fantastic, they may be. But generally speaking, don't make your own equipment. You just don't need to. All right, guys, so how is progress made? How do we know when we're making progress and how do we track it? Well, here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, quite often it gets overlooked, progress, okay? People go, oh, well, I've either lost weight or I haven't, or I've, you know, added more weight to my workouts or I haven't. And they're good ways of telling progress, for sure. But if your resistance is going up, so if you've added more weight, or if it's a resistance band and you're using a heavier band now, or a tighter band, that's a good sign. If the frequency of the workouts have increased, if you're able to do more workouts in the same period, that's great. So if you were only doing 2 workouts a week and that was a push, but now you can do 3, that's a sign of progress. The intensity, if you could do a run and you could basically manage a light jog over the coming weeks, you managed to get that up to a medium pace run, brilliant, your intensity is increased. That's a sign of progress. Reps, obviously, if you can do 10 on the first session and 10 on the second session and 12 on the third, your rep count's gone up. That's definitely increased. That's a brilliant sign that you're progressing. Recovery time is a massively overlooked one. You might do the same session 3 weeks in a row, and you might think, well, I didn't lift anymore, and I wasn't able to do any more reps, and you know, so I haven't progressed. But how quickly did you recover in between each set? when you did the press-ups for the first one and then went into the second round, you might have only done the same amount of press-ups, but did you recover quicker? If you did, that's again a great sign of progression. And then of course, the relative ease with which you do everything. Again, another sign of progression. And these are all things you can track, guys, in a diary, in a spreadsheet, however you want to do it. But you've got to be mindful and open to the fact that there's always progression if you are progressively overloading. And that's what I want to talk about here. This is the key thing. You need to be progressing in some way or another to get great results. Progressive overload simply means that we keep adding to what we can do. So it could be that we add weight. It could be that we add reps. It could be that the intensity goes up. It could be the frequency goes up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be that we lift heavier and heavier weights every time, because where would that end? You know, the world's strongest man would be lifting planets, right? That's not the case. So it has to be progression in any of those areas at all for us to keep moving forward. All right. Once you've got that progressive overload, you know that you're constantly going forward and you're progressing in the right way. We're going to move on to nutrition, guys. Nutrition is a big subject. So I'm not going to massively go over it today because I think it could be a whole new subject on its own. I am a qualified nutritionist as well, and you know, it's something that is very individual as well. So I'm just going to go through it in a nutshell in terms of how to kind of help you where you are right now, but you know, happy to do a bigger session another time. So let's talk about the essentials. First things first, you need to be eating enough for your goal. Okay, and enough means enough. It doesn't mean more, it doesn't mean less. So if you are looking to lose weight, don't cut your calories so low that you haven't then got the energy to do any exercise, that then makes you feel bad mentally, which then makes you feel worse because you're hungry, which then has a negative effect. And then after a couple of weeks, you're going to fall off and you're going to go stuff your face. That's the worst thing you can do if it comes to a diet. Instead, you're much better off having a very small calorie deficit that you can manage, but that gives you enough energy to do well in your workouts, so you see progression, you feel good, you feel capable, you do more, and then the weight will come off bit by bit by bit over time. The rules of this have to be that you have to get as much fresh food, real food, as you can. That's where you get the bulk of your nutrients, your minerals and your vitamins on a daily basis. I appreciate right now in the situation we're in, you can go to the supermarket, you can order an online delivery, and it's not ideal. You're not getting everything you need, but you've got to get as much as you can from those sources. In terms of energy, energy in food comes from carbohydrates or it comes from fats. My best suggestion to keep it simple for anyone is you should always have a good mix of both. But if you're particularly heavy in one area, just lower the other area right down. If you eat a lot of pasta, don't add a lot of fats into your diet. If you eat a lot of fats, don't add a lot of carbohydrates into your diet. Have it lower at one end than the other. If you're someone who has a bit of both, that's absolutely fine. But that's where you're going to get the bulk of your energy to do your workouts and recover from. Vitamins and minerals, again, they're going to come from fresh fruit, vegetables, everything that you can get that's fresh. It's like anything in life, guys. The ideal is fresh, organic, local. You see it, it's grown, it's got no pesticides, you eat it, you feel good, it's fantastic. The next best thing could be frozen. The next best thing could be tinned. Doesn't matter. You've got to go what's accessible to you and the best you can do, especially in these times as it is at the moment. You know, there's not an abundance everywhere of great food. Some places are better than others. So you've got to do what you can do that's right for you. This is the trouble really with sort of looking at nutrition, is that there is no one size fits all approach. It's more about working out what is the best for you at that given time. And you've got to have a goal to be able to work that out. And then the last thing I want to say is really adopt an eating plan. And what I mean by that is, if, for example, weight loss is your goal or muscle build is your goal, let's say it's muscle build, for example, you want to make sure that if you are looking to build muscle, that you want to eat enough for your goal, right? Okay. Quite often people who struggle to build muscle undereat. Quite often people who struggle to lose weight actually undereat. And you think, oh, that's crazy, how does that work? Well, it's because they're not really tracking what they're doing and they don't really have a plan of how they're going to attack it. So if you have an eating plan, whether it's, for example, like intermittent fasting, where you eat in a window, you might eat between, let's say 12 o'clock at lunchtime and 8 o'clock at night, and then for 16 hours you don't. That's called the 16-8 plan. What that allows you to do is make sure in that time you've planned the amount of food, calorie-wise, what it is you're going to eat. You know exactly what you're going to have, you've got it planned, you've got it prepared, and then you go and eat it. Rather than eating on the go and eating on the fly and see what you can get, obviously at the moment, we've got the benefit of not having to do that, which is good, but you can actually control what you take in. So having an eating plan, and it's got to be one that works within your lifestyle and works for your goal, and most importantly for you specifically. Because there's no point in, your friend down the road who did this great eating plan and she lost loads of weight, or he gained loads of weight. That's fantastic. But the reason it worked for them is because it worked for them and their lifestyle, their choice of foods, their ability to actually stick to it, their adherence level. If you can't stick to it, it's no good. It doesn't matter how good the results seem to be. If you can't stick to it, you won't do it. So it has to be something that you can do. So for example, a lot of people like the keto lifestyle. That's great. If you don't like eating a lot of fats and you really like carbs, are you really going to stick to it for a long time? Probably not. You're going to struggle, you're going to feel miserable, and as a result, you're going to fall off. Conversely, if you're someone who really doesn't really care about carbohydrates and actually are quite willing to give it a go, you might find keto works really well. So again, find what works for you based on what you know about yourself already and try and stick within a plan. If you don't have a plan, chances are it's going to go off a little bit. Okay? As I say, nutrition is a big one, but we can go on all about it all day. As I said at the bottom there, 90% of your results come from the kitchen, and it's absolutely true. You can't out-train a bad diet. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in the gym or at home, in your workouts, you cannot out-train that bad diet. If you're stuffing your face full of donuts and that's what's happening on a daily basis, the rest is not going to happen for you. Okay? Outside of that, water is your biggest supplement you should be taking. You should be upping your levels of water every day. Why? Because, as it says there, only 2% dehydration. It massively affects your strength, your brain power, your focus, your ability to recover, and pretty much everything you do, all the functions in your body. It will affect your sleep, it will affect your digestion, it will affect your processing of toxins, everything. So keep your water levels up. You'll improve your functionality. You'll improve your ability to do more in the gym, outside the gym. I keep saying the gym, but it's at home. We're going to say at home today, okay? But anytime you do any kind of physical activity and any kind of mental activity as well. So how much do we know to drink? What's the sort of levels? You heard 2 litres. You've heard this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, if everyone was to drink 2 litres, consider this. I'm 6'3" and I live in a moderate climate in the UK. Is that really going to be the same amount of water as someone who is 5 foot, massively overweight, lives in Australia in really hot territory? Probably not. So it's got to be individual. How do we gauge it? Simple. Drink water until your pee runs clear. And when it does, keep drinking water. Keep it at that level. That doesn't mean you literally have to sit there guzzling back gallons and gallons all day. You just get yourself fully hydrated and stay there. And you'll know when you're in it because you can see, and when you're not, you can also see. Outside of water, the only other supplements you will need at this time, and probably any time really, there's always things that you might need individually, and your doctors will be able to tell you those things if you have tests done on your blood work. But a multivitamin, if you're female, with iron is crucial. If you're not female, then obviously without the iron. And omega-3 tablets, okay? They're going to help your joints, they're going to help your recovery, they help with brain power. Omega-3 is honestly almost like a wonder pill. The things that it helps with in your body is unbelievable. You know the research that goes into it. It helps illnesses, it helps prevent illnesses. It's fantastic. Can't recommend it enough. A multivitamin, a good multivitamin will be like a catch-all. If you're not getting enough fresh food, if you're not getting enough nutrients from your food, The multivitamin will be there to help you to keep you upright and keep you going. But don't rely on it. It shouldn't be multivitamin first, then some food. It should be a good base of food, then a multivitamin. Okay, guys. So, tools regarding nutrition and tools in general. Okay, MyFitnessPal. If you're not familiar with it, go and check it out. It's a free download. It's an app you can use to track food. You can track exercise. It's got some great tips. It's got some recipe ideas in there. Really, really good tool for anyone who wants to get in shape and stay in shape. Okay. In terms of tracking, notepad, spreadsheet, whatever you want to do, however you want to track it, have something you can keep putting progressive information onto. YouTube, exercises. Why is that important? Because I've given you the basis of what it is you need to do, but you need specific exercises for your body and your level. So well done, guys, for staying on here, and thank you very much for that. I'm going to give you some resources in a minute that are going to really help. But YouTube's going to be great because you can actually look up different exercises, and I've given you some ideas in a minute to show you what to do. Fitbit, Apple Watch, any kind of tracker if you've got one, they're really, really good for tracking your steps and your heart rate. They're not so good for tracking your activity. It's a bit of a lie. So don't rely on it. But steps, heart rate, really, really good to have. And most of those come with an app that you can track other things with as well. If not, something like the Nike running app, for example, is really good for tracking distance. It's free. And when you go for your walks, I would recommend cardio-wise, guys, at the moment, if all you can do is get out for a walk and you can't run, walk every single day. Okay, take that one exercise outside a day and do as much as you possibly can. Go for an hour, go for 2 hours, whatever. Just get that fresh air, get the headspace, do what you can do. And then lastly, an app like we've got at the function here. The Function app tracks everything. So it tracks your workout, it ties into MyFitnessPal, it gives you photos, measurements, everything, so you can see a whole picture of what's going on. It's a shameless plug, that's okay. Takeaways. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening today. I hope it's been very useful for you. Here's some things that I want you to have, my gift to you. I hope it's going to give you a basis to plan some amazing workouts at home and get started and get progressing. So I've got a free workout planner for you. It's just a basic Excel spreadsheet that's actually done on Google Sheets. It's got a template in there already of actual workouts, so 3 sessions a week, all with the 8 movements that we've talked about, and using compound exercises with no equipment. You can, of course, add weight to those if you've got equipment like a dumbbell, kettlebell, a heavy object, as long as it's sort of balanced, you can add those in and use those as well. Secondly, I've got a guide that I put together for squashing stress and anxiety at this time. It's really useful tips and tricks on how to manage your mindset, de-stress, and really just focus on getting through this time in as a positive way as possible. And the third way I can help you is offer you a free consultation. I'm doing this a lot at the moment, speaking to a lot of people. It's really helping them get a plan and a way of actually moving forward and progressing with what they're looking to do. Because everybody's different, everybody's got a different starting point and a different end goal. So if you want to jump on a consultation with me, we can do that. We can go through 20 minutes, plan something for you, get you an idea of where you need to go. And if you want to take further work, it'd be fantastic. If you don't, at least you've got a good guide of what to do. So here on the screen is how to get those things. There's a link to the free workout planner there. As I say, download it. There's 3 sessions in there, okay? And you can progress that as much or regress it as much as you need to. This is where YouTube comes in handy. You now have the 8 movements on those sheets, okay? And you can just plug and play. You can say, what's a equivalent of this? What's an equivalent of this? What's an equivalent of this? And see the workouts in there, and you can do that. The anti-stress guide, there's the link there in the middle. And then thirdly, the link at the bottom goes to my Calendly, and that is to book a consultation if you want to discuss specific plans, if you want to discuss getting on one of the online groups, or you just want to find out how you can progress from where you are now. That's your best bet of doing it. So hopefully, guys, that's been useful. We're going to go over to some Q&A now. So I think Chantel's going to come back in and help me with that. But I just want to say thank you very much for your time. Hope it's been useful. And yeah, don't stop. Keep going and keep moving forward. Booyah. Hello, Chantel.
Hi, Ian. Thank you. That was brilliant. There's a few questions on the Q&A tab for you. I think there's about 11. Are you able to bring that up now?
Let's have a look. Q&A tab. Okay, right. So let's go through these as best as we can. All right, so question number 1. Should I get some scales to weigh myself if I plan to lose a certain amount of weight? Yes, you should have access to some scales that you can use reliably at the same time, at the same day, every week. Okay, in any given day, your weight fluctuates 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, depending on you. Could be more than that. So you don't want to be weighing yourself every day, and you certainly don't want to be weighing yourself at different times of the day. What you want to do is set a date. So normally I say with our groups, we say every Sunday or every second Sunday, depending on what we're trying to achieve. And there's a weigh-in at that point, first thing when they get up. So it's before they've eaten, it's an indicator that will be accurate to them on that day every time. Okay, because everyone has the same habits and routines, you'll tend to find that will be your best bet. In terms of what kind of scale to get, you don't need anything too fancy. 20 to 30 pounds, 40 pounds maximum will get you a really good scales. Don't worry about things that measure body fat, water retention, all things like that, because they're vastly, vastly inaccurate. Even if they say the stats are fantastic, they are compared to other scales, but scales in general are crap at doing that. So my best advice, get yourself a scales that's just good and accurate in the first place. Question 2, should I be doing cardio if my fitness goal is to put on weight? You should always be doing some kind of cardio, but if you want to put on weight, what you could do is instead of doing long drawn out cardio, you could do high intensity intervals, so HIIT. Okay, what does HIIT mean? It means literally that, doing something at the highest possible intensity. A lot of people get it wrong when they say, I do HIIT 5 times a week. You don't, because if you did HIIT at the most high intensity you can do, you couldn't do it 5 times a week. Maximum 2 or 3 times a week. So my best advice to anyone in an ideal situation would be, if you're going to do high intensity exercise, is sprinting, literally sprinting, because you can only do it for about 10 seconds and you will have to give everything in those 10 seconds. Then you take 50 seconds to recover, so that would be walking, and then you go and do another sprint, and you repeat that as many times as you can. You might go for 10, 15 minutes maximum. I'd say you struggle probably to do 15 minutes, but that will definitely help you to keep putting on weight, but also keep your cardio system working, get everything else working well, and keep you on track for what you want to do. Cool. I find that doing ab exercises give me upper abs, there's nothing for my actual tummy. Can you recommend any suitable exercise for a flat tummy? Yes, so 2 things. Number 1, 99% of the time, if you're seeing progression up here and not further down, it's generally diet related. It's generally that you're storing a layer of fat that's covering that up. Every 1 in maybe 10 people will have the fact that they can't visibly show all of their abs. Some people just don't have that genetically. They don't have the ability, no matter how much weight they will lose, there will just be some that aren't visible, but that's very rare. Diet is the biggest thing for that. Diet is the biggest thing for that. If you're someone who is or has eaten a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates, has had quite a high carbohydrate diet, I would suggest trying a more keto approach for a few weeks. That might help you to shift that initially. If you're someone who hasn't had a high carbohydrate diet, maybe try and put some in. That shift and change in diet will help promote your body to change the way it uses energy, and therefore will eat into its reserves to get you moving again. In terms of actual exercise, anything that you're using your abs for, if you're using compound exercises like we've discussed, so body weight, squats, lunges, pull-ups, press-ups, and all of those things, they engage the full core. And your core, by the way, guys, is everything. If you chop your arms and your legs and your head off, That's your core, not just your abs. So you need to be doing all of those movements we discussed, and they will be using your core in those as well. Okay. Should you exercise on an empty stomach? You can do. You absolutely can do. Consider this: what you eat today doesn't just fuel you for today; it fuels you for tomorrow. Okay, so if you've eaten quite late in the day today, tomorrow morning, should you have enough energy to do a good session? Absolutely. Session should only be a maximum of an hour anyway in terms of its resistance work, and that should include your warm up and your recovery after that. Any more than that, you're burning too much energy, and your body's going to start to tap into its muscle stores. Okay, so you're actually going to decrease your gains in terms of doing that. So keep it to sort of 45 minutes to an hour maximum. Absolutely, training on an empty stomach is no problem at all. And if you were following a 16-8 intermittent fasting, for example, training in the morning before you break your fast, absolutely. As long as you can do it, no problem at all. No problem at all. What can you use at home for resistance training? Can I comment on how trampolining can help? Okay, trampolining is great fun. It's fantastic, and it's really good exercise too. Only caveat I would say with trampolining is just be careful, because it can cause a lot of injuries. Not only to obvious places like falling on something, but in terms of the pressure that you put down, and as you come up, it's almost like a concertina effect between your joints. So there's that hammering effect between them. That can cause a lot of issues, specifically in your neck, shoulder, knees, ankles, things like that. But if it's okay and you're doing all right with it, keep it up. It's great exercise. In terms of resistance training at home, go with bodyweight exercises. There's honestly so many varieties of press-ups, squats, lunges, all kinds of variations. What is a burpee? It's a hip hinge with a press-up, with a squat, with a jump. Put it all together. That's why it's a really effective exercise, but one that people don't like doing because it's tough. It's all those movements at once. But there are so many different varieties you can do. So stick with body weight for now. If you've got any equipment you can use it. Resistance bands, dumbbells, kettlebells, but otherwise stick with body weight for now. If I've been poor in being physically active and want to get back to exercising to lose weight, what kind of pattern should I follow? Also, when I will start initially, can I have painkillers to manage with body pain? Okay, I would never advise using painkillers full stop when you're doing any kind of exercise, purely because you are masking any potential symptoms of injury. Don't do it. You want to feel what's happening, even if it's painful, even if you get what we call DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, the day after or 2 days after exercise. At least you know your body's reacting in the right way to the exercise. If you block that out with painkillers, all you're potentially doing is masking an injury that might be happening. Okay? You're also thinning your blood if you're taking something that has blood thinners in it as well, and that's not going to be good for when you're pumping your blood around your system. So I would say don't do that. In terms of being physically, not being physically active, wanting to get back to exercising, what kind of pattern should you follow? Exactly what we've discussed. You want to be putting in resistance work at least 2 or 3 times a week. And there's a plan, as I say, you can download that on what I've shown you there. That will give you good base for resistance work, and then cardio as much as you can. If it's a long walk, do it 5, 6, 7 days a week. I'm going for a walk every day at the moment, you know, just to get out, get headspace, get some fresh air. But it doesn't have to be complicated, guys. This doesn't have to be the most comprehensive, elaborate workout plan in the world. It just needs to be progressive. So the rep counts and everything I've given you on those plans that you can download are quite low. You can up the reps, you can up the weight, you can up the frequency. You can do 4 sessions a week. You'll get the idea. Okay. Do I have to give up wine? Never give up the wine. 1 glass a night, for example. In all honesty, how seriously do you want to achieve your goal? That's my best answer to you. If, for example, if I wanted to look and perform like an Olympic athlete, they don't drink alcohol. So if that was my goal, if my goal was to be that person, I would have to emulate what they do. They do not drink alcohol. It's not just the calories. That's not the only reason they don't drink it. It's the effect on your body. When your body's processing the alcohol, it stops processing fat as efficiently. Yeah, right? So if your goal is weight loss and you're having a cheeky vino every night, it's not necessarily the biggest amount of calories, and you maybe have eaten less to allow for those calories, but your body will stop processing fat as efficiently to process the alcohol. So my best advice, cut that down from 1 a night to, you know, at the weekends, or even 1 on Monday, 1 on Wednesday, then 1 in the evenings, then look to go to 1 on you know, Sunday, 1 on Saturday, whatever, and then try and wean it out as much as possible. Don't become teetotal if you don't want to, you don't have to, but bear in mind that it does affect your training and recovery and your sleep and your digestion. Cool. What are the apps do I recommend for tracking? MyFitnessPal. It's fantastic for tracking food, exercise, all things like that. If you've got a Fitbit, you'll get the Fitbit app with it, or an Apple Watch, you can track with that as well. And of course, I recommend my app. Why? Because it's awesome and it tracks everything, and it gets great results. So happy days. Can you give examples of what you can do for resistance training, please? While we're in lockdown, can't use gym, only have 2 3K dumbbell weights. Okay, absolutely. So again, bodyweight movements are great. If you want to enhance those bodyweight movements by using a 3K weight, you can do. I want to introduce something very quickly. It's called time under tension. Time under tension simply means that we want to prolong the time. And I'm going to show you an isolation exercise, which is no, but just to demonstrate. So if I lift the weight, 3 kilo dumbbell, for example, nice and quickly, up and down, there's a little bit of challenge, there's a bit of resistance, but it's not really terrible. If I now take the time under tension and make it massive, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1 second up, pause for 1 second, 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 10 again, so it gets to the bottom. Now what I've done is I've made it a much tougher exercise. So if I do the same amount of reps, but with more tension, that weight now feels more like a 6 kilogram dumbbell. So we can progress everything by using different mechanisms. And again, you can look for ways to do that through YouTube, but ultimately remember this, the dumbbells, the kettlebells, whatever they are, all they do is replicate those 8 movement patterns, which you can do with no weight anyway. So I hope that helps. What are your views on vibration equipment? How to answer? Probably very useful. Well, at the end of the day, vibration equipment is good for a few things. It's good for muscle stimulation. Yep, we're going further than that. So it's good for muscle stimulation in all different ways. I would use it more as a recovery tool than an actual strength building tool. Vibration focuses on your muscles twitching, okay? If you are working in the ways I've shown you today, and you use vibration as a way to, okay, let's put it another way. If you stand on a vibration plate in a fixed position, let's say it's a squat position, you're here and you're holding the vibration plate in a squat, it gets tough, right? The vibration goes through your body and it's tough because your muscles are twitching. That's cool, and that is definitely going to happen. It's good, you're going to get benefit from it. If you do the same position, by the way, sitting against the wall in a wall sit with nothing behind you and you're just sitting there, pushing against the wall, see how tough that is. See how hard that is. It's extremely tough because all you're doing is what we call an isometric hold. Yeah, so instead of moving through the resistance, you're holding the resistance. You're holding that tension in any position. And you can achieve this in the same way with a press up, for example. You go all the way down to the floor, just above the floor, hold it as long as you can. Then push up, hold it at the top, then go down, hold it at the bottom. And I'm shaking my hands to demonstrate that's what will happen. So the vibration works by making the muscle fibers twitch, okay? Use it as a recovery tool. By all means, use it as a strengthening tool if it's working for you, but bear in mind, you still have to do the same patterns and movements on the vibrating plate as you would do without it. So I hope that helps. Should you take a multivitamin every day? Yes, you should, unless you've been instructed otherwise. Ian, do you agree with exercising 1 day, resting 1 day? Yes, if you are using the same muscles again and again. I've given you a 3-day plan. So I would say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's your resistance work. If you are capable of doing more, do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Easy peasy. In between those days and on those days, do some cardio, okay? But bear in mind this, if you're going to do some cardio, that doesn't mean going for like marathon runs every day. It might just be a walk. It might be a recovery walk on that day. You might have a specific cardio day where you want to do more intense, like a longer run or a shorter run but sprints. That's absolutely fine too. If your goal is to build muscle, you want to keep the cardio down low. So high intensity, twice, maybe 3 times a week maximum, or just walks, longer walks. If your goal is to lose weight and you want to get fitter, you can make those cardio sessions a bit longer. So a longer run, for example, would be a good way of adding that in. But yes, rest days are vital, guys. Rest days in terms of resting the muscles you've used are vital. That doesn't mean complete rest, do nothing, laying in bed and eat donuts. Active rest, like going for a walk, is a good way to recover. How do you do cardio at home in full lockdown? Cannot go outside? Good question. Really, really good question. Loads of ways you can do that. You can jog on the spot. You can do things like this. We call that monkey rows. You can do star jumps. Yeah, you can do mountain climbers, standing or on the floor. You can do shadow boxing. Yeah, anything that's going to get you moving and grooving is cardio. Even some of the stuff that we call NEAT, okay, non-exercise stuff. So non-exercise adaptive thermogenesis. So basically doing the ironing, doing the hoovering, doing the cleaning. You'll notice if you wear a tracker, if you go and clean the house and you iron and you do all those sorts of things, you'll burn shed loads of calories just from being active. It's not exercise because it's not planned, it's not sitting into a regime, and you're not tracking it necessarily, but it is exercise. Your body loves it and you get a great response from it. So cardio can be anything that gets you moving, okay? If it's slow and progressive, like a long run, for example, that's great, that's long and steady state. If it's short and intense, it could be high intensity, it could be a mixture of both. Doesn't really matter. The mechanism doesn't matter. Just get your body moving. And again, tons of examples on YouTube. Look, search for home cardio. There's loads, absolutely loads, hundreds and hundreds. What's the best exercise for underdeveloped calves? Well, really, really simple. Calf raises, but in 3 different ways. So feet pointing forwards, calves up, calf down, and you want to do it on a block, something where your calves can come over the end and come up. So like your stairs, for example, bottom rung on your stair, down and up. So feet this way, then feet this way, then feet this way. Toes pointing forward, toes pointing together, toes pointing forward, toes and heels pointing apart like this. You do 3 sets of 12, 4, 4, and 4, for example, with as heavy a weight as you can hold in your hand. We'll do them on 1 leg at a time, even better. You'll see massive development and massive strength in those. Right, good morning run at the moment, going for morning run at the moment, but when lockdown returns, how can I maintain this? Keep running, I would. I have limited time commuting to London, have gym membership, but that is not as motivating as going for a run outside. If you're not a natural runner, is jogging just as effective and can protect pressure on your knees? Right, I'm going to answer that quickly first before we move to the next bit. Look guys, if you want to protect your joints from pressure, okay, what we're actually talking about is impact. Like I said with the trampoline, you've got that sort of concertina effect. If you were to sprint 10 times, okay, and you might think, well, sprint is really hard, it's quite high impact. It is. But actually, the science behind it says that the impact is no more severe than if you go for a run or a jog, okay? The difference is you finished your session in 8 minutes or less, or 10 minutes or less, maximum maybe 15 minutes. Because if you've gone for a long run for an hour and a half, consider the impact over that hour and a half. So if you want to look at protection, number 1, choose a cardio that doesn't have any impact. I know at the moment we can't all go swimming, that's not an option, but things that don't have an impact element. So things like shadow boxing, things like, for example, doing like mountain climbers on the floor where you're not hitting the floor. Anything that takes the impact away will help with that. But in the long term, how do you keep the motivation up for running? I'd say set yourself a goal, achieve a target, and keep working towards it. So when you see the progression, you'll keep motivated. Join a running club. Get other people around you who enjoy running. That will keep you motivated. Also, if you have a tendency of grabbing chocolate bar whilst out shopping, what is the best snack to maintain good level of nutrition? Fruit or nuts can get boring after a while. Look, not going to lie to you, at the end of the day, twofold answer. Number one, what's the best thing you can get? Something that's going to fit within your eating plan and is good for you personally. Number two, yeah, fruit and nuts, they can get boring. Maybe. I could always throw that question back the other way as well. Doesn't eating a chocolate bar every day get boring? You go, no, it's delicious. Well, yeah, okay, but it's the same principle. The point is, it's your mindset that makes one boring and not the other. If you're going to eat the same thing every day, well, is it boring? No, it's just that you choose it not to be boring. Okay, so a really good idea is maybe you're craving something sweet, something sugary. Maybe try getting something like a kombucha, for example, which is good for your gut health. Drink slightly sugary taste, or slightly weird taste for some people, but it gives you that element of sweetness. Or maybe a yogurt, like a soy yogurt, or a coconut yogurt, something like that with a hint of vanilla or something like that. Or natural sweeteners and something might be better than going for that chocolate bar. But there's all different things you could try. I have a shoulder injury and struggle with push-ups, planks, etc. Is there anything else you can recommend? If you have a shoulder injury, you need to address the shoulder injury first. Try not to work around it. You need to address it in some way. Now, if it's a shoulder injury where you've seen a panel of experts over many times and they've told you there's nothing we could do, you're never going to be able to move your shoulder in a certain way, and you believe that and that's the case, fine, then obviously you have to look at different ways of working out. But if it's not the case, if you can actually do things, okay, with that shoulder, it's just that it's restricted from an injury and it's not really fully recovered, your first goal is to rehab that shoulder or shoulders. Get that back to position. Now that's a different level of exercise to everything else. Doesn't mean, by the way, you can't use those other movements without your shoulders at this time. So yeah, press-ups are not an option for you. Actually, it doesn't mean that press-ups aren't an option for you. Chances are any kind of horizontal and vertical push, and maybe even pull, is probably out of the question for you at the moment, okay? And it's important you train in those ways, so we need to address that shoulder issue. If you want to book a consultation, we can have a chat about what we can maybe do with that, fix many people's shoulders. Because guess what happens in London? Typey, mobile phone. Yeah, everyone's posture creeps forward like this. And so what big part of my job is helping people to restore that posture, shoulders back and down to where they are, so we can actually get movement and do what we need to do. Where can I buy resistance bands from? Well, it's a bit of a lottery at the moment. Many places stock them. It would be remiss of me to sort of say one particular place, but there's a big online store, obviously it begins with an A and ends in an N, that sell everything, and they tend to have multiple stocks. Other than that, just type them in online and look, honestly. But to give you an idea, hang on 1 second. Resistance bands that are useful are ones like this, okay? Not the little piddly ones that you wrap around your feet. They're okay, they're fine, but you want something, if you can see it, it's got a bit of thickness to it, yeah? Okay? The reason you want ones like this is because with these ones, you can actually get a good range of motion on them. Look, watch this. Oh look, it's a bench press. Oh look. There you go, awesome. I could put them under my feet because they're long enough to do so, and now I can shoulder press. Ah, see? So you can mimic all those 8 movements with bands that are long, and you can get different thicknesses. Some of them are very thin, some of them are very thick. So check the thicknesses first, and it will give you an idea of what that resistance is in terms of pounds. So for example, this might be a 35-pound equivalent, right? So lifting a 35-pound weight. The good thing about resistance bands over a fixed weight like a kettlebell is the kettlebell doesn't change weight. Whether I lift it up here or have it here, it's the same weight. With a resistance band, it's what we call variable resistance. So it's easier here, tougher, really tough. It varies in resistance. And that's because obviously the resistance keeps increasing as we go up. A really good bit of effect. So have a look at those. Thank you very much for this video. It's given me motivation to get fit and lose weight. Thank you. Thank you for being here. That's my job, and I hope that has helped. Protein shakes recommended. Any vouchers? Cheeky. Protein shakes, yeah, if you're going to take protein shakes, and they're a good way of upping your protein, guys, of course, don't rely on them, but have them into your diet. I actually do have a discount code with a couple of places, so if anyone does want access to that, I think you get like 40% off their stuff. It's the one I use, so it's not because I get kickbacks or anything. It's purely because I use them, and I don't recommend stuff I use anyway. But in terms of decent protein shakes, you want to look for stuff that have got as less added chemicals as possible and as clean as possible. And ideally, you can trace where they come from. So the one I use is made in the UK. It's very easy to trace, and it's got a few added ingredients, but nothing too bad. So yeah, hit me up if you want to do a look at that. Will this, is a sprint as effective as a jog? If I jog for an hour, what's the equal sprint wise time? Well, let me put it to you this way. How long can you jog for? If you can jog for 2 hours, and I'll say, right, now go and do some sprints another day and see how long you can sprint for. I don't think you're going to get anywhere near 2 hours. I think you might get 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10, maybe a little bit more, who knows, sprints. The point is, that's exactly the comparison. They're as effective as they need to be. But let me give you an image for a second. Look at the body shape, body type of Mo Farah, okay? Long distance running, runs for hours. Now look at the image, if you can, or you can Google it if you're not familiar with, the image type of, not necessarily Usain Bolt, but he's an idea, but he's kind of a little bit different. He's a bit of an anomaly in the sprinting world. Look at people like, for example, Olympic Christie and people like that. You'll see pretty much all sprinters are very, very muscly and very, very defined because they train for power. They train their muscles for power, quick explosive bursts, okay? Whereas that's the exact opposite for Mo Farah. Mo Farah trains for long endurance. So the way he eats, the way he trains, very, very different, okay? So I would say try both mechanisms. They'll get you different results. But don't necessarily include both at the same time because they can be counterproductive. It depends on your goal and what you're trying to achieve. Will this presentation be available after? I'd like to revisit some of what you suggested. Yes, as I understand it is going to be available so in all good bookshops and video stores and somewhere on here as well. So yeah, it should be. As I'm exercising every day, the muscles are getting challenged. I was doing yoga, but when doing the sun salutation, my right shoulder now really hurts. How do I address this pain? It's hard to say exactly what's happened because obviously it could be any number of things depending on what you're doing and how you were doing it. But I would say again, similarly to the question earlier on, you have to address it first before doing anything else with your shoulders, okay? Don't try and ignore it. First protocol of any injury is rest, ice, compression, elevation. If that helps to alleviate the symptoms after a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, great. Try and use the shoulder again with light resistance and don't put it for a position where it's compromised like that to the side. Just keep it nice and stable and try in that position. If that doesn't hurt, great, progressively work it back in. If after doing rise for a few days, it's not helped, or it seems like it has, but then you go to move it and it's hurt, unfortunately, you're going to need to have probably a little bit more work done on it. It might require specific rehab, or it might require going to see a specialist to come in and actually look at that. But it's very hard to say specifically what you've done because obviously in that position you could have been doing any number of things in terms of rotation or pull or push at the same time. So hard to say on that one, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. So, all right, I think we've answered everything. If there's nothing else, then thank you very much for joining us today. I hope it's been helpful, as I say. Hopefully you've got the links. If not, you've got the replays, you can get the links afterwards. But look, guys, my aim today was to get people to be motivated to keep going, or to get started, or to progress if they've stuck. Hopefully that's done that. And yeah, don't stop, just keep going. I know it's tough at the moment, but keep this positive, keep this moving, and it will all help in the long run. So thank you very much. Someone just said, can I do a nutrition one? I can if people want that. I can certainly do a nutrition one tonight. Thanks, guys. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you soon.